We'll start in another minute.
Okay.
It's 3:05. We'll start now. Thanks for joining in, everyone. A very good afternoon. I am Shreya Damani, Senior Nutritionist at Good Monk. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see you all. We all have gathered here to hear from Dr. Soumya Bharani about a very important topic today, which is gut health across life stages. In today's webinar, we are also conducting a quiz round during the speaker's presentation. So please participate in quiz and top 3 winners who will enter the most correct answers and who will be the fastest will win Good Monk goodies. We'll be announcing the winner towards the end of the webinar. We will also do a Q&A session towards the end of the session. So please feel free to drop in your queries in the comment section. You will see a black colored comments button towards the right of the screen. So please drop in your comments over there. And would now welcome all the panelists who have joined us today. We have with us Dr. Sheila Krishnaswamy, ma'am, who is a renowned diet, nutrition, and wellness consultant with over 40 years of experience. She's a former president of IDA and also a part of Good Monk's Scientific Council panel. We have Ms. Isha Singh, who is head of nutrition at Superfoods Valley. She's an accomplished professional with 14 years of experience in delivering innovative solutions, scientific engagements, and creating value for businesses, not only in India, but also in Asia Pacific markets. We have Ms. Shalini Arvind, who's the co-convener of IDA Bangalore chapter. She's a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator with 20 years of experience. We also have with us Dr. Sandhya Singh, who is the convener of IDA Bangalore chapter. She has contributed a lot in the field of nutrition and dietetics. She is a PhD, HOD, and Chief Clinical Dietitian in Nutrition and Dietetics Department, Apollo Hospitals, Bangalore. She has over 22 years of experience in clinical nutrition and dietetics. She's a core organizing committee member of AICNU, which is conducted by Apollo Group of Hospitals. She is also the member of IAPEN. She has completed the low FODMAP diet course from Monash University, Australia. She is the expert faculty for the renal nutrition course at SVT College, SND University, Mumbai. She has contributed as an author in various books and she has much more accolades to her name. Would now request Dr. Sandhya to please welcome and introduce our esteemed speaker for the session, Dr. Soumya Bharani.
Thank you for those kind words, Shreya. And I would like to introduce the speaker for today's session, Dr. Soumya Bharani. She is a PhD and she is a registered dietitian. She has completed her PhD in nutrition and dietetics from King's College, London. She's worked in the London Olympics and Paralympics of 2012. She's worked as a nutrition diabetes researcher in the NHS London. She is a registered dietitian in the UK, and she is passionate about empowering dietitians with the knowledge of nutrition. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Soumya.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sandhya, and thank you everyone for joining me today.
So the topic for today's session is gut health across life stages. And over to you, Dr. Soumya.
Thank you very much. Gut health is a is a topic which is very close to my heart because when I started my PhD, my topic was about protein synthesis in the gut upon application of glutamine. So it's been such a close topic to me, and today I'm very happy to share a little bit of my thoughts and my understanding to you all. So buckle up, everyone. So before we get into gut health through the ages, let's define what do you mean by the gut. So gut is nothing but the entire GI system, which includes stomach, intestine, colon. And what it basically does, as you all know, is it absorbs nutrients and also excretes waste material. Gut is very, very special because of the ecosystem of the microbes that it houses, and also the interaction of these microbes on other parts of our body, organs, mood, etc. Okay, so there is a saying which goes like this: all diseases begin with the gut. And indeed, a lot of scientific research has shown that more than 90% of the disease can somehow be linked back to gut health. Okay. So what is so special about the gut? I think these are statistics that you all know already, but I'm just going to say it again. So there are about 10 to 100 trillion microbes that are harbored in each of us, and there are more than 10,000 different species of microbes, and there are more than 3.3 non-redundant, that means non-repeating genes, which are based out of these microorganisms. And when you have a look at the screen onto your right hand side, you'll see that there are the numbers of different kinds of microbiome and different parts of the GI system is quite varied. And as you can see in the colon and the appendix, it has the most amount of gut microflora, and the stomach has the least gut microflora. And also, it has a lot of different species, which makes it interesting and also important to human life and health. So, what is the role of gut microbiota in our health? So, on the green side, we see how it impacts our health positively. Okay, so when there's increased intake of dietary fiber, probiotic intake, what happens is there's a lot of short chain fatty acid production. And this short chain fatty acid, what it does is it actually is energy gives energy to the enterocytes or the cells in the small intestine, which maintains the health of the small intestine. And with good diet and good dietary fiber intake, there are also a lot more antioxidants, which reduces inflammation. There is improved metabolism, lipid metabolism. There is greater insulin sensitivity, and there's a lot less risk of infections because the gut is a hub of good immunity as well. But what happens when our clients are not eating right? There's an altered pH in the gut, and if they're taking excessive proteins, that can also negatively impact the gut. Of course, as you all know, increased sugar intake, alcohol intake, not eating meals on time, smoking, all these affect the gut negatively. So when the diet is unhealthy, what happens is there's decreased short chain fatty acid production, which which does not help the gut to maintain its proper structure and function. There is increased TMAO, which is trimethyl N oxide, which is present in the intestine. And this is bad because this impacts cardiovascular and kidney health negatively. There's also increased lipoprotein synthesis and increased cardiovascular disease risk. Because of bad diet, there's also increased inflammation. And as you all know, inflammation is the root cause for a lot of diseases, such as cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, even autoimmune diseases. Bad gut also has an impact on the brain, and there are lots of research suggesting that it could also lead to cognitive decline. And of course, you know that an unhealthy gut results in insulin resistance and also increased risk of GI symptoms such as diarrhea, constipation, IBS, Crohn's, etc. Okay. So why am I doing this thing on gut health through the ages? What is so different? So the gut microbiome, we think that it's static, but it's actually not. It's very, very dynamic, and it's ever changing because of external environment, the diet, stress, sleep, lack of physical activity, ultra processed foods, emotions, smoking, drinking, alcohol, antibiotics, etc. And also, what we have to pay importance is the gut microbiome also evolves based on our hormonal changes in our body. Suppose, say, a lady is pregnant, so those hormones would also impact the gut microbiome. Okay. So it's just not just hormones, it's also age, it's gender, it's pollution, diseases, and the different phases of life also alter gut microbiome in the gut. So that is why it's important to understand what kind of changes happen to us as humans and what these changes mean to our gut as well. For example, in different phases of the life, in gestation, the maternal dietary habits have an impact on the growing fetus. Whatever the mom is consuming, even including antibiotics or any medication, and lifestyle and hygiene practices impact the gut of the growing fetus. And during delivery, also the mode of delivery, the birth weight of the baby, the hospital hygiene also impacts the gut microbiome of the baby. And during infancy, the type of formula that is being fed, whether the baby is fed through breast milk, whether the baby is surrounded by pets, how much hygiene is maintained in the house, and the mode of feeding, all these impact the gut microbiota. And as we progress towards puberty or adolescence, there are a lot of different things which impact the gut. It could be childhood illnesses, it could be food allergies, malnutrition, hygiene, and also where they are born and brought up, and also proximity with siblings also impacts gut health. So during adulthood, again, different factors affect the gut, like prebiotic consumption, diet, lifestyle, whether they are sedentary workers, sleep, pregnancy, physical activity, emotional well being, social life, all these impact the gut. Then when we come to old age, the health of the person, whether they are able to chew food, finances, like do they have access to good food that they had before, hospital stays, hygiene, and type of diseases they have, the medications that are taking, previous illnesses, all these contribute to different kinds of more microorganisms in the gut. And as you can see, the red rectangular boxes are firmicutes. These are the bad bacteria, and usually there's some of it in the gut. But as you can see, during babyhood, there's very little. But as things progress during old age, there's a lot more percentage of the firmicutes as we progress. So one of the intentions of this webinar is also to make sure during all phases of life we have a healthier gut microbiome diversity and more amount of good bacteria in the gut, and see how we can introduce dietary changes which promote good health, good gut health among our clients. Okay. So, with infancy, how it all starts. So, when a baby is born, the gut is pretty sterile. Okay. So, as you all know, babies which are born through C-section, and when you compare it to babies who are born vaginally, babies who are born vaginally have a much broader range of gut microbiome. They also have a lot more healthier gut bacteria as well. Other things which influence the baby's gut microbiome is gestational age, how quickly they're breastfed and for how long they're breastfed, and what supplements, what formulas they are fed with, other formulas made at home or they're store bought. Those kind of things all impact gut at the infant stage. By the age of 3, the foundation for the gut bacteria is pretty much established. And so it's very, very important that the gut microbiome is carefully maintained or introduced with as much positive behavior as possible. So, an infant's gut microbiome depends also on maternal environmental exposure. Suppose the mother drinks or smokes or uses drugs or a lot more medication. It also depends on the gestational age of the mother. If the mother is much older when she gives birth to a baby, the infant's gut microbiome will not be as healthy as it will be when the mother is much younger. So, maternal vaginal microbiota also plays an important role in the microbiota of the baby as well. Yeah. And there's a lot of importance that is placed on maternal skin and skin to skin contact after the baby is born. Okay. So, why is there so much of importance on breastfeeding? So, as you all know, in breast milk, there is human milk oligosaccharides or HMOs. Okay, this fosters the proliferation of beneficial bacteria, while formula feeding might increase bacterial diversity. It could be good bacteria or bad bacteria, but breastfeeding fosters proliferation of healthy bacteria. And that is why it is very, very important. So, what happens is the HMOs, such as GOS or galacto-oligosaccharides, what they do is they are fermented by bifidobacteria, and this releases a lot of short chain fatty acids. And as I said before, these short chain fatty acids are very, very important for maintaining the structural integrity and the growth of the cells of the intestine. So, how do we improve gut health among babies? Of course, we start before the baby is born, making sure that the maternal diet during pregnancy and lactation is good, making sure that the baby is breastfed as much as possible, and if breastfeeding is not possible, we could look at alternatives for the mother, such as getting milk from milk banks, and also starting formula feed or supplementary feeding at the right age and not trying to feed the baby very, very early. Okay. Also, trying to make the baby have a bath only after 12 hours after the baby is born. If the baby is given a bath and it's removed of some of the vaginal microorganisms, that could also negatively affect the gut of the baby. And skin to skin contact is very, very important for the baby to improve gut health. Okay. So during pregnancy, what are the beneficial things that you could ask your clients to do to improve their child's gut health? So the first thing is increased fruits and vegetable intake and decreased processed meat, foods rich in high fat or deep fried foods. We are not sure about the effect of vitamin D supplementation on gut health or salmon consumption as well. During infancy, it's very important for the mother to breastfeed as much as possible and also increase consumption of FOS and GOS. I will go into this in a little bit more detail in the coming few slides. The detrimental effect could be formula feeding and feeding supplementary food at a very young age. As a toddler, how we can improve gut health is by diversifying solid food introduction, giving them a wide variety of solid foods, and start weaning only at 4 to 6 months. And also make sure that there's a lot of variety in that the toddler is given. So this is a lot of nutritional intervention. But when we look at other scientific progress, we can also see that there's a lot of things that is happening, which can also introduce gut microbiome in infants. Okay, so the new frontiers are vaginal seeding. So the newborn, which is born by C-section, especially, what the doctors usually do is they take the microorganisms from the vagina and swab it on the baby as soon as the baby is born. Okay, so whatever microorganisms it would get through a vaginal delivery, the doctors are trying to mimic that with this vaginal seeding. Another thing is to actually give probiotics to the baby, but this is quite controversial as we don't know how this will impact the baby. There's some research for it and saying it's quite safe when you do it properly and try to remove the sensitive probiotics which can introduce gut dysbiosis in the baby. But there are a lot more research papers which suggest that probiotic introduction to the baby might not be healthy at all because the baby is just too sensitive to handle probiotic from another source. Okay, there's another thing called maternal FMT, which is fecal microbial transport. So, what I think this is something that all of you already know and have heard. So, fecal microbiota transfer, what they do is they collect the microbiome from the fecus of the mother and then dilute it, and in some cases, also remove the unhealthy bacteria and then mix it with the breast milk and feed it to the child. This is usually happens with children with who are born through C-section. Of course, a lot of people are not convinced by this. Research is also has not arrived on a consensus whether this is healthy or not, but this is still being done in different parts of the world. Another therapy is phage therapy or microphage therapy. What happens is a virus uh, infects the bacteria, and then this bacteria is usually healthy, and then these bacteria are introduced into the baby through breast milk, through collection of breast milk and adding these phages into that and feeding the baby orally. Again, there is a risk of this becoming dangerous to the baby's health. Okay. So, because of all these reasons, nutritional intervention seems the easiest, safest, and the cheapest way to increase gut microbiota balance in infants. Okay. So, the next thing which I'm going to talk about is microbiome, and how do we increase gut microbiome in children. Of course, by adding prebiotics, probiotics in infants, and symbiotics. So, symbiotics are a combination of prebiotics and probiotics, and they enhance. They are dietary components that enhance the growth of microorganisms. So basically, the FOS, the GOS, and the ZOS and the inulin have a lot of symbiotic activity, especially if they're coupled with probiotics as well. So FOS or fructooligosaccharides, they are present in a lot of foods such as garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, blue algae, and chicory root. So chicory root, as you know, that chicory is also added in small amounts in coffee powder. But this chicory root can also be cooked and eaten like potatoes, and it can be also grooved and also consumed as a drink. Next is GOS, which is galacto-oligosaccharide. What this does in infants and indeed in adults as well is it reduces stress, which is induced by the gastrointestinal tract, and also improves immunity. So GOS is present in a lot of foods such as um, dairy products, beans, root vegetables, etc. Next, we go to ZOS, which is xylo-oligosaccharides. These are present in bamboo shoots, milk, honey, rice porridge, etc. And of course, you know that children, very young infants, are not usually given honey because of the risk of contamination. But infants over the age of 1 can be given honey to increase ZOS in their gut. Another thing which is also a symbiotic is inulin, which is present in onion, garlic, chicory root, Jerusalem artichoke, etc. So also added like the research papers from which I've taken this information, and Shreya is going to share this whole PPT with you, and you can look into more information if you'd like. After infancy comes teenagehood. Yeah. So when we look at teenagers or think of teenagers, what we usually associate is them not being, them being moody. They're trying to grapple life, and they're trying to understand life, and their brain is still developing. So gut microbiome has an impact on brain development, cognition, and behavior. So what happens is the gut microbiomes can regulate development of neurons in a way that can lead to lasting impacts on brain behavior and also brain circuits. Okay, so gut microbiomes are very important in making um, biochemicals like serotonin that actively stimulate neuronal activity or the activity of the nerve. And as teenagers, it's very important to have good serotonin levels. Otherwise, teenagers tend to become cranky. They also tend to have mood swings, etc. So the gut microbiome plays an essential role in keeping the brains working in prime condition and freeing up nutrients from the food, because the gut takes up about 20% of all the calorie demands of our body. Although it weighs only 2% of our body weight, it still consumes an amazing amount of calories. And the gut bacteria, if it's healthy, it also helps to shape the thoughts and behaviors in these teenagers. So, in the last few decades, researchers have showed that there's a lot of compelling evidence of how gut health has a massive impact on brain development and cognition in teenagers. Okay, so, what do we do about this as dietitians? So, the dietary changes would include more fermented foods, more fiber rich foods, and also more butyrate producing foods, especially those foods which contains Felicibacteria. And what foods are these? These foods can be apples, bananas, berries, oats, pears, fruits, vegetables, legumes, seeds, especially flax seeds and chia seeds, are very important for maintaining good gut, which promotes brain development and behavior. This Felicibacterium, what it does is it helps to regulate neurotransmitter levels, so that it's appropriate, and teenagers don't feel extremely wired or not wired, and it decreases neuroinflammation, and it also promotes neuroplasticity, so they're able to learn new things and adjust and acclimatize to new things. As you all know, if there's a lot of firmicutes in proportion to bacteriocides in the gut, there are higher chances of absorption of more calories, more fat from the diet that is eaten, and that could be the reason for increased adiposity and lower metabolism. So during teenage life, teenagers usually start eating a lot of like junk foods. They're very influenced by friends and advertisements, and that is the time where they start making their own food choices. So if they are making wrong food choices, this could be the start of their obesity journey. Skeletal maturation is also important in relation to gut health, because gut helps to absorb calcium. A good gut microbiomes helps to absorb calcium from the food that is eaten. Okay. So, what happens when teenagers or anyone eats unhealthy food, especially sugars? The brain is overstimulated. And because the brain is overstimulated, it can lead to hyperactivity and mood swings. So, unhealthy foods, especially sugar, what it does is it's very addictive, and it also can throw off brain's chemical balance, making them more susceptible to mood swings. And it also stimulates neurons in the brain's reward system to want them crave for more and more sugar. Okay, so that's why people who are kind of addicted to sugar crave more sugar. So in the brain, there is something called the limbic system, and this limbic system is triggered off when sugar is taken, and this is considered as a reward. And this processes emotions as well, emotions that are associated with fear and anxiety. So, although kids might feel very, very good when they eat sugar, after a period of time, they feel more uneasy, restless, anxious, etc. And also, as you know, increased sugar consumption also leads to obesity risk. Brain hyperactivity in adolescence can lead to cognitive defects in adulthood. So it's wise to reduce the consumption of sugar in your clients when they are teenagers itself, so that it does not affect them in their adult years. Okay. So, teenagers and junk food, and what is the effect of that on the gut? Sugar, we already spoke of. Excessive salt also makes the gut a less conducive place for the microbiomes to also grow and flourish. Maida, which is stripped of fiber, also reduces the amount of fiber that is available for the microorganisms to grow and to get sustenance. So with junk food, what happens is there's reduced microbiome diversity, because there are less different types of microorganisms. Junk food promotes unhealthy bacteria, and this unhealthy bacteria rapidly reproduce compared to the healthy bacteria. So, because of that, the healthy bacteria start dying because there's not enough resources or space for the healthy bacteria to grow. And that's why there's reduced microbiome diversity. And there's also, like I said, a shift towards harmful bacteria, and this could lead to a lot of inflammation and metabolic problems as well. So lower level of beneficial bacteria is also because of lower amounts of fiber, as fiber, lower amounts of nutrients, which is present in junk foods. Whereas when you consume whole foods, there are much more higher amounts of nutrients, which supply food for the healthy bacteria. When there is such a imbalance or a dysbiosis of the gut, this definitely affects the health and brain and the brain working of teenagers. Gut microbiota is an important modulator of brain and behavior. So that is also one of the reasons why junk food should be avoided among teenagers. Okay. So now we talk about teenage and obesity. Continuing with junk food, as you all know, junk food contains very little nutrients, but a lot more calories than healthy food. And because of that, teenagers tend to become obese. And as you know, getting junk food is so easy for teenagers, and that is their choice now of getting junk food between classes and after school and things like that. So, what happens when teenagers eat a lot of junk food is there's a lot more inflammation, and the gut barrier is not very strong, and also there's immune cell activation as well. And there's increased fat deposition, lipopolysaccharides increase, and there's a lot of unhealthy opportunistic bacteria which has a negative effect on the gut and also increases obesity. Bad bacteria also increase insulin resistance and dyslipidemia. So nowadays, what we're seeing is people who are younger and younger have bad cholesterol levels, increased fat deposits, even in their liver. Okay. So how to by making sure that these children reduce junk food, we bring about a greater homeostasis in the gut and increase gut barrier function, increase the mucin in the gut. That is the layer of protective layer on the intestinal cells that protects the intestine from acids and bacteria which are harmful. So when a diet is healthy, comprising of a lot of fiber, a lot of nutrients, there's a lot less inflammation, there's increased insulin sensitivity, and metabolism also is revved up. Okay. So how do we assess gut health? Um, which is very important when we are talking about what nutritional interventions to do. Okay, so there are lots of different parameters to assess gut health, which includes like mode of delivery, environment, uh, the drugs. It could be medication or drugs itself. How much exercise they're doing. Some people over exercise, and that also could be bad for the gut health, and what foods they take, what is the frequency of fiber, diary, etc., cognitive behavior, social life, interaction, stress, mode of delivery, all these needs to be assessed. And apart from this, for women, if they're taking contraceptive pills, this would also have an effect on the gut. And use of plastic containers, all these things, and previous diagnosis, their health conditions, and signs and symptoms that they presently have. All this should be in the assessment parameters when you assess your clients for what gut problems they would have. Okay. Now we'll take a small break and we'll do a small quiz. So I think Shreya will take over, or Ankit.
Yeah, so Ankit will start with quiz now.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So first question is there. Would request people to submit their answer. Question is, what is the meaning of the term eubiosis? Another question number 2. What microorganisms are found in the jejunum? If you're not able to see the questions in your right, would request you to minimize your screen. The questions will appear on the right side of the screen. Thirty seconds are over now. We have another question. Question number 3. Which of these parameters is important to assess gut health? Another 5 seconds. Punch in your answer fast. 30 seconds are over. We'll move on to another question. This is the second last question, which is which combination of outcomes ensures the best gut for the baby? Ten seconds left. Now the last question number 5. Why are short chain fatty acids important? Fifteen seconds to go. Done. Thank you everyone for participating and punching in your answers. We'll be announcing the prize winners, top 3 winners, who have given the most correct answers and who have done it fastest towards the end of the session. Thank you. Hand it over to Dr. Soumya now.
All the best for your quiz results. Okay, now we go on to adulthood and we speak about the gut brain axis. So, all of you know that what happens in the gut does not stay in the gut. It reaches all other parts of our body and it affects a lot of other things. But first, let's look at how stress affects the gut. It affects the gut by different ways, and that shows clearly in our digestive system. There is, some kind of diarrhea, constipation. Some people get a lot of acidity when they are stressed. That is because of the gut brain axis. The gut communicates with the brain, and the brain communicates with the gut. If there is any danger, or the gut also is a hotbed of neurons. So that also sends a lot of messages to the brain. Okay. So how stress affects the gut is it could affect it by reducing enzyme production, by reducing the amount of healthy bacteria, by not supporting good and good, sorry, by increasing leaky gut, by having an imbalanced gut bacteria, and by reducing gut motility or the movement of the small intestine, which moves the food along the whole intestine. There could also be a lot of gut issues like IBS, constipation, irritability, etc. They could also be seen as increased pain in the stomach, in the gut, etc. A lot of different hormones and enzymes depend on the gut microbial information to produce, gastric juice, etc. And during stress, this might be over secreted or under secreted as well. So there are lots of different pathways which are involved in maintaining a good health, which includes the immune system, the neuroendocrine system, the enteric nervous system, the circulatory system, and also the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a long nerve which runs through the spine. And it controls a lot of different things, especially it is very sensitive to stress. And this feeds the gut information when you are stressed. Okay. So when a person is stressed, a lot of hormones and neuroactive chemicals are secreted differently. They are usually over secreted or under secreted. And also when a person is stressed, the microbes in the gut also produce different metabolites which might not be healthy. Okay, so that will lead to a lot of other diseases, not just digestive issues, but also other diseases such as anxiety, stress, depression, etc. So let us look a little bit more clearly as to what happens. Okay, if you look at the picture on the left hand side, you can see that in the initial phase, there's the healthy small intestine. So the epithelial cells is healthy and they're all close to each other. So there's no way that any of the contents of the gut is leaking. Okay. And there is a thick layer of mucin, which is a protective layer, which protects the epithelium from any acid that might be present in the food or any bad bacteria from attacking the epithelial cells itself. Okay. But what happens when there's a lot of stressors? It could be stressors such as work pressure, smoking, unhealthy eating. It could be a lot of pollutants. It could be overexercise, not sleeping properly, a lot of medications. That when that happens, there's a lot of dysbiosis or disruption in the microbiome, and that will lead to a lot of different uh, functional changes in the gut. So if you look at the second half of this left-hand side picture, where there's dysbiosis in red, you can also see that there are gaps between the epithelial cells, which makes the gut leaky. Okay, so the contents of the lumen or the small intestine goes from the small intestine directly into the blood. And unfortunately, a lot of harmful bacteria could leak out from the lumen directly into the blood, giving rise to a lot of infections and even diseases. And when there is gut dysbiosis, as you can see in this picture, the protective layer of or the mucin is not there or it's barely there. Okay, so that exposes the epithelium to a lot of attack from from the environment in the lumen. It could be bacteria, it could be the food, it could be the acids, it could be the hormones present in the lumen as well. Okay, so that is how stress affects the gut. So when a person is not stressed, the gut is more likely to be healthy. When a person is less stressed, the gut is less likely to be healthy, and there's more chances of leaky gut, etc. Okay. Uh, so, what do we need to do to prevent the leaky gut? As you all know, short chain fatty acids are very important for providing energy to these enterocytes or cells of the small intestine. So, short chain fatty acids are formed when dietary fiber is fermented anaerobically or without the presence of air in the colon. So, there are different types, sources of short chain fatty acids. As you all know, acetate, propionate, and butyrate are the most common. So, in terms of nutritional intervention, what do we need to do? So, acetate is present in apple cider vinegar and in kombucha. Propionate is present in oats, eggs, and in sourdough. And butyrate is present, as you all know, in ghee, butter, and also raw milk kefir. Okay, so consumption of this helps to reduce dysbiosis and promotes a healthy gut. Yeah. Also, healthy fat sources also improve um, leaky gut. So these sources could be fish, plant oils, and nuts. So glutamine supplementation is also very important if there is leaky gut and dysbiosis, because glutamine is one of those important nutrients which promote good health, gut health, and structure. Sorry. Okay. So the right hand side is pretty much telling you the same thing, but it also gives you an idea of what different microorganisms are increased and decreased during stress. So during stress, what happens is there's a lot of inflammatory processes. Sorry, I just need to take a break and drink some water. Yeah, sorry, my throat was acting up. So, when there's stress, there's of course a lot of inflammation, and this inflammation can be at the gut level as well. There's a lot of cytokines and pro inflammatory markers which are increased, and that increases epithelial damage and gut leakiness. Okay, so the balance goes from healthy bacteria predominantly to unhealthy bacteria, especially firmicutes, uh, are more in number. So, what are the diet based solutions for this? So, basically, because there's a lot of neuroinflammation because of increased gut dysbiosis, we have to look at foods which bring down inflammation, like vitamin A, C, and E. And also, you know, there'll be a lot of cravings if there's a lot of stress. So we need to make sure that our clients are eating healthier despite the stress and understand the emotional reasons for eating junk. So, in terms of constipation and diarrhea as well, for constipation, make sure that a lot more fiber is included in the gut, so that there's less constipation, and also increase the amount of water that is taken. Okay, so cravings are also introduced by gut bacteria, which are unhealthy. So we need to make sure that our clients are eating healthy, and they're making good food choices, and also eating on time. Unhealthy eating patterns are triggered by this unhealthy gut, and this leads to poor metabolic responses as well. So, we talked a lot of different strategies on how to prevent leaky gut by introducing like short chain fatty acids, prebiotics, and also probiotics. So, gut health is also influenced by sedentary life. So when a person has a sedentary life, there's a lot more gut biota disturbance. But with physical activity and movement, there's all increased gut microbial diversities. And there's a lot less firmicutes present in the gut, and there's improved lipid metabolism. That's why sedentary life uh, encourages fat accumulation in the body. In sedentary people with sedentary life, there's a lot of insulin resistance because of the um, type of bacteria that is present because of the sedentary life. And when physical activity is introduced, there's a lot less risk of diseases, there's increased insulin sensitivity, and there's a lot more short chain fatty acids. This is independent of the diet that the person is consuming. So when you add physical activity with a healthy diet, of course the positives of it are multiplied. Okay. So, to maintain good health, the gut microbiome, what it does is there is increased metabolites, which is positive in nature, that is produced by the gut bacteria. There's also relative abundance of beneficial bacteria, and the structure of the small intestine is much more stable than when there is dysbiosis. Next, we talk about menopause and gut health. Okay. During menopause and perimenopause, what happens is there's a lot of different changes in the hormones of the woman. And because of that, it also has an impact on the health, the mood, the energy levels, and further has a cascading effect on other hormones as well. So when perimenopause sets in, mm, there's a lot of changes in the vaginal bacteria, and this can influence the gut bacteria as well. Okay. So the immune moderators of gut and vagina are very, very closely interlinked. And that's why when there is hormonal changes or changes in the pH of the vagina, this can also impact gut health and vice versa. So in perimenopause and menopause, what happens is one of the major hormones is estrogen. Okay. So when estrogen dips down, that has a negative impact on the pH uh, of the vagina. Okay. So what do we need to do to increase estrogen naturally by harnessing the power of the gut microorganisms? So increasing phytochemicals such as soya beans, vitamin B rich foods, peaches, red wine, of course in moderation, garlic and legumes help to increase estrogen production in the gut. A lot of these hormones are present in the gut, and low estrogen can cause reduced stomach acid, and low progesterone can lead to lower gut motility. And I'm sure you've seen observed in some women who have periods, who are not yet menopausal, but who are on their periods, and some of them have constipation or loose motions just before their periods or during their periods. That could be because of imbalance of progesterone levels. Too much of progesterone leads to higher gut motility, which leads to diarrhea, and less progesterone leads to slower gut motility. But in the case of postmenopausal women, progesterone is lowered, and that leads to lower gut motility. That also leads to constipation as well. With menopause, also what happens is testosterone levels are declining, and that affects the gut, the strength of the gut as well. Okay. Uh, so how do we and with menopause, the thyroid levels also become slow, and this decreases metabolism and how the food moves through the intestine. Menopause is a time when women are, they don't find a lot of support through healthcare professionals or through their own peers. And a lot of women face a lot of menopausal symptoms, which can sometimes seem overwhelming. And because of this, they might feel stressed and increase their cortisol levels. And this increase in cortisol level again has disturbances on their digestive tract. So, decreasing cortisol levels by measuring cortisol levels both in the morning and in the evening, and providing anti-inflammatory foods and Mediterranean diet is very important to bring down cortisol levels. Another thing that I forgot to tell when we were talking about estrogen is to increase estrogen, a lot of fiber rich foods should be consumed. Okay, so there's increased activity of the microorganism, microbial enzyme called beta glucuronidase, which regulates estrogen in the gut. What the beta glucuronidase does is it deconjugates the estrogen and turns estrogen into its active form. Okay. When there is dysbiosis, there's less of this enzyme, and so there's less of estrogen. So, making sure that your clients are consuming more fiber rich foods helps to produce more glucuronidase, which helps to increase active estrogen in their body. So, when we talk about menopause in the gut, a lot of energy metabolism happens of vitamin B and K in the gut. And one of the most important thing that menopausal women complain is their lowered energy levels, and it seems very unexplainable to them. So, just making sure that they are having enough vitamin B and K in their diet is a good start. And estrogen, when it dips down, it causes a lot of other symptoms such as hot flashes, low energy levels, low bone mass, etc. So introduce a lot of phytoestrogens and probiotics into your client's diet. And sleep is also a problem. A lot of women, about 60-70% of menopausal women, experience hot flashes, and they are also very stressed in this phase. And because of that, sleep can be quite elusive. So, tryptophan rich foods such as almonds, milk, fish, and most meats help to increase melatonin production. And that can provide a lot of solace. And as you all know, melatonin is also produced in the gut. So we need to make sure that the gut is healthy so that sleep is much more easy to come by. Stress management is very important because most people, when they are stressed, they get into fight or flight mode, and this disturbs the digestion because they need to shift from fight and or flight mode to rest and digest mode. Okay, so the calmer people are, the more they meditate, the more they eat healthy, it's better for the body. So, in terms of junk food and menopause, because women can get quite emotional during menopause, they might increase their consumption of junk food. And this increases the unhealthy bacteria, such as firmicutes. And these firmicutes predominantly absorb more calories from food, and they absorb more fats from food, and that changes the body composition of menopausal women to make them more adipose tissue dense. So, common prebiotic rich foods such as barley, bananas, asparagus, onions, leeks, all of these things help to maintain a better gut health during menopause. The last phase of life is old age and gut health. And during old age, there's a lot of different changes that are seen. Okay, so the um, gut is not able to absorb as many nutrients as it was during adulthood because the structure and function of the cells of the intestine is diminished. It is not as healthy as before. There's a lot more inflammation generally in the gut, and there's an increased number of bad bacteria in the gut. There's also a lot of thinning of the mucus, And mostly a lot of older adults don't eat a lot of food because they have decreased hunger because of various reasons. It could be because of mouth dryness, it could be for financial reasons, or because the saliva is not produced enough, because they're not strong enough to cook or chew, or they might have dentures. Okay, all this leads to lower consumption of food and indeed nutrients. So that has an impact on maintaining the mucus of the gut as well. Okay, if there's an impact on the mucus, that leaves them more susceptible to leaky gut and infections. So there's a loss of gut barrier as well, and also a loss of immunity. Living conditions can impact the gut health of older adults when there's a change in where they stay. Usually, older adults go and start living with their children, or they start living in old age homes, or they start moving from the city into their hometowns and things like that. And this could also impact their mood, their accessibility to food, and the time they take to adjust. And because of their old age, they also might reduce exercising, which, as we spoke about, has a detrimental effect on gut health. People in their old age also have decreased pepsin, lipase, all those GI enzymes, which make them less able to digest food. And they're because of their ill health, most of them have some disease or the other, and due to that they might be taking some medications, antibiotics, etc., and that also has a negative impact on gut health. So as far as possible, make sure after they take antibiotics, make sure they eat a lot of prebiotic and probiotic foods to uh, replace the healthy microorganisms in their gut. There's a very lovely paper on this old age and gut physiology and microbiota, from which I've taken this slide from. If you have the time, please go through it. And yeah, that's the end of my session for today. Any questions?
There are a few questions, ma'am. We'll do that in the Q&A round if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Handing it over to Shalini, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shreya. And thanks to Dr. Soumya Bharani. She was so very calm, composed, and took us through all the slides in such a slow and well explained manner that I think everyone would have got most of the points. But I'll try to do justice to the work which I've been told. I'll try to summarize how much I can. So she has told all. I'll try to pick up what are the interesting facts of all the talks she has spoken about. So the first very prominent sentence was all the diseases does begin back from the gut, and most of us agree with that. And more than 90% of disease can be traced back to the gut. And it was an interesting fact to know that around 3.3 million round repeating genes are there in our gut, and we would never know about that, right? And she took us through about the dynamic nature of the gut and what are the different factors which can affect the gut microbiome and our gut health. So, of course, we know hormones can hormones can alter our gut microbiome, and there are other factors like food allergies, malnutrition, and physical activity, our social life, how much we gel with people, how much we interact, and our emotional health. All these factors do cause an impact on our gut microbiome. And as we age from our toddler age to teenager, there's an increase in the firmicutes, which is present in our gut. It increases as we age as well. And the other factors which she threw the light upon was one, we know that vaginal delivery We know that the babies who are born in a natural way, that is from the natural normal delivery or the vaginal delivery, have a much better gut because they go through that passage of vagina. So they do have that on the baby surface, they have those all the bacteria that the mother will have in her vagina. Correct? So other than that, the gestational age and how long the baby has been breastfed, these also determine the gut microbiome of the baby. And how long the baby is breastfed, that also is important because the breast milk has HMOs, which has oligosaccharides, and it releases short chain fatty acids, and that helps in our gut health. And one interesting thing that I got to know that baby should be given bath only after 12 hours of birth so that we can maintain the gut microbiome which the baby would have got from the mother. And the mother should be encouraged for more and more skin to skin touch so that the surface, the bacteria which is there at the surface of the skin helps in increasing the probiotic count or the gut microbiome of the baby as well. I hope I got it right. And also about how the mother's diet was during her pregnancy obviously affect the gut microbiota of the baby also. And we must expose the toddler to as many different types of food as possible. So greater the diverse the food we give to the baby, the better will be the gut health of the baby. And something new about vaginal seeding, that there's a new technique apart from the dietetic intervention. There are other factors also which she threw the light upon. One was about vaginal seeding, like where they take the swab from the vagina and they smear it on the baby's skin, so it helps as if it mimics the vaginal delivery. So that's one new thing which we got to know. And the probiotic introduction to the baby is something which is controversial, where still the consensus are not taken. And also something new was about fecal microbiota transfer, where the feces from the mother is taken, bad bacteria is removed, and that is diluted and fed to the baby through the breast feed. I mean, the expressed breastfeed, I think it's mixed with these diluted, cleaned fecal matter and is fed to the baby. Again, this is under controversy, so I mean, few people would not agree with this. And there was information on microphage therapy. Then we come to the next stage about how to increase microbiome in children. So how do we increase the fructose oligosaccharides, galacto-oligosaccharides, and xylo-oligosaccharides and inulin? Because, I mean, I will not go into details of the sources, but because these things will help ultimately in the better gut quality of toddler. Then coming to teenagers, we know how eating habits of teenagers are. So having a good microbiome will help in increasing their cognition, serotonin production. It will influence their thoughts and behavior as well. So it's a very, very important point to take back home. And we must increase the fermented food consumption. I mean, we must counsel them to have more of fermented food, fiber-rich food, and also butyrate-rich foods. And there is a new thing which I got to know about, that once there's an increase in formicates, it causes an increased susceptibility for obesity. So other than our eating habits, these things also alter the gut health of any person. And we know there's a vicious cycle of sugar. Once we have an increased amount of sugar through junk or whatever, through direct source or indirect source, it overstimulates the brain. It makes the brain more hyperactive. It can cause mood swings, and again, it can cause craving for the sugar. So this is a vicious cycle. And gut barrier also will not be strong when we take too much of junk. It kinds of make ways, the gut barrier becomes loose. It make ways for the bacteria to leak into the blood, and that can cause inflammation, and inflammation can open the gate for many, many other things. Then she spoke about how do we assess the gut health. So there are many ways. One would take a detailed history of mode of delivery, person's exercise pattern, diet, fiber, behavior, their social contact, medication history, how much of plastic usage is there, and their present health conditions. So there's a like diet counseling, dietary recall. There's a big history which is taken to assess a gut health, person's gut health. Then moving on to adulthood, she spoke about gut-brain axis, how a gut and brain communicate to each other. And because of stress, there's a reduced enzyme production. It can cause leaky gut, IBS, and Crohn's, many more such things. And during stress, the micro production, obviously, it leads to unhealthy metabolite production, and that can also cause psychological issues like anxiety, depression, etc. And different ways how do we increase short chain fatty acid production would be like apple cider vinegar, ghee, kombucha, and few more that she cited upon. And the foods that we must take, I mean, all the dietitians would be knowing, but foods that will help in reducing the inflammation has to be advised to our patients or clients. Sedentary lifestyle also can cause disturbances in gut microbiota. Coming to menopause and perimenopause, which usually happens typically 5 to 10 years before menopause, is called as perimenopause. So there will be changes in our hormones in a woman's life. And immune moderators of gut and vagina are closely related. So whenever we know when we enter into menopause, there'll be a drop in the estrogen level, and that can cause a drop in pH as well. So we should help patients to increase the estrogen levels by increasing more of fiber-rich foods, because it has, through fiber-rich foods, beta-glucuronidase can be increased, and that can help in the increased estrogen production. And low progesterone level can also reduce the gut motility. That's why probably in menopause, many women can face constipation. We can help people by increasing more of tryptophan-rich food consumption, and also we can help them in for their mood swings will be there usually in menopause, low energy levels they experience. So counseling on pre and probiotics, the sources of that would help a person. Then in old age, there will be increase. There are different factors for and reasons for an increased inflammation, and that can cause increased gateway for bad bacteria also. And there's a thinning out of mucus because of the old age, and that can give way to leaky gut as well. So there'll be a production of low production of digestive juices, and there are so many medications which can cause an interference with their gut health also. So unnecessary overusage of antibiotics definitely has to be discouraged. It has to happen through a doctor's prescription. Obviously, not unlike these days, which happens like you go to the chemist, give a prescription and take some antibiotics. It should not be. As much as possible, we have to wait for the symptoms to subside. If not, then go and ask. And if the doctor deems it important, then he will prescribe antibiotics. And along with that, course of antibiotics, prebiotics, and probiotics also has to be taken so that we restore back our gut microbiome. I hope I have covered the points.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shalini. I'll not take much time because we have crossed the webinar schedule time, but quickly, I'll take you through the product, the Good Monk product. Yeah, so these are the hero products of Good Monk, that is Good Monk Family Nutrition Mix and Healthy 50+. And these are our panel of nutrition experts and scientists who guide us constantly with their expertise and immense knowledge in nutrition and product development. Let us go through this AV to know about the Good Monk Family Nutrition Mix. That was about Family Nutrition Mix. We are proud to say that Good Monk Family Nutrition Mix is clinically proven to improve gut health, energy levels, and immunity. This is basis the clinical survey which was conducted among 72 people for 120 days by an external clinical research organization. I will be sharing the results over WhatsApp with all the participants, just in interest of time. Quickly through another product of ours, which is Good Monk Healthy 50 Plus. Let us now know about Good Monk Healthy 50 Plus. Okay, thank you so much for the patience. We would like to now open the Q&A session. We shall take up queries now that you may have put in the comment section. Also, just wanted to inform that we'll also be sharing the PPT as Soumya ma'am mentioned, and we'll also share the cheat sheet for quiz answers in the upcoming week. Soumya ma'am, there are a few questions that I would like to ask.
Sure.
One is by Shalini ma'am. She's asking, there are no clear guidelines on usage of probiotics in enteral feeding. Your thoughts on this, please.
See, the thing is, I'm not a clinical dietitian, so I would not be the right person to answer this. So sorry about that.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
No problem.
Then there's a question that are there any specific strains of bacteria that can be given to immunocompromised patients as a probiotic in order to help in recovery? Or are probiotics still a no-no for such patients?
See, for immunocompromised patients, there's not enough research on specific strains of bacteria that will help in recovery, and more so, a lot of the research is very skeptical about the ill health rather than the benefits for immunocompromised patients, because it is essentially the gut is already bad, and even if we are giving healthy bacteria, it might be overcome by the unhealthy bacteria. And like I said, there's not enough research on specific strains for immunocompromised patients.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Pallavi Pinge is asking, please explain the points you spoke about propionate and butyrate, etc.
Okay. Okay. So we talked about short-chain fatty acids and in adulthood, and we spoke about how to increase the amount of short-chain fatty acids. So there are three different types of short-chain fatty acids, which is acetate, propionate, and butyrate. And acetate is present in apple cider vinegar and in kombucha. Propionate is present in oats, eggs, and sourdough. And butyrate is present in butter, ghee, and raw milk kefir.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Last question by Dr. Sandhya. She's asking, how can antibiotics affect gut health and what is the dosage of probiotics to restore balance?
So antibiotics can affect gut health depending on the gut health of the person who was taking the antibiotics. So some people are not very affected by antibiotics at all if their gut health was very, very strong to begin with. But some people who already had gut dysbiosis can be very, very affected by the antibiotics, and they can feel exhausted and tired, and the effect of antibiotics can last in them energetically and microbially for a few weeks or even months. Okay, so some people, as you know, can say, my fever was not bad, but the effect of antibiotics was worse than the actual fever, right? So if they had a compromised or a dysbiosed gut to begin with, then the effect of antibiotics will be much more harder, and the journey will be much more longer. So again, it's going to be very, very personalized, how much of dosage of probiotics that is needed to restore balance. But if you want to do it a little bit more scientifically, there's a lot of gut health tests which tells you what microbiomes are missing and what microorganisms are the negative ones are in too much amount in the gut, and based on those test results, you can administer the relevant pre and probiotics.
Okay. Thank you so much, Soumya ma'am, for
Thank you so much, Dr. Soumya.
yeah.
Thank you.
It's time to announce the winner of our quiz round. So top 3 winners are Prashanthi Reddy, Rohini Prasad, and Sudeshna Das. So congratulations, all 3 of you. Will be reaching out to you shortly. Would now request Ms. Shalini to conclude the session by giving vote of thanks.
Shreya, one
Thank-
question I have.
Yeah.
Would you be able to introduce from which place these winners are from?
That's nice.
Yeah. So not at the moment, ma'am. We will share. We could share that after the session.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shreya. Congratulations to all the winners. And first of all, thanks to Shreya for a smooth organization. It was very well, it sailed through very smoothly. Thanks to Sheila ma'am, thanks to Miss Isha, and a big thanks to Dr. Soumya Bharni. As I already told, it was a very, very detailed session. Very easily, you could cover all the points, and it was quite clear for everyone. It could be a fresher or anyone. It was very, very clear, and you touched upon all the points very well. Thank you, Dr. Sandhya, for all organization, for organizing anything. One has to have a lot of back-end work, and she has been behind this since quite many days amongst her busy schedule. Thank you, Dr. Sandhya. Thanks to all of you, for all the listeners, for your patient listening, for learning and asking questions as well.
Thank you, Shalini.
Sure.
Thank you,
Hope
Dr.
to have
Soumya.
few more sessions. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya, and thanks to Good Monk for collaborating with IDA and having this insightful session on gut health.
Thank you so much, Sandhya ma'am. Thank you, Shalini ma'am, for collaborating with us. And thanks, Dr. Soumya, for your wonderful presentation. There were a lot of wonderful insights in it. Got a lot to learn. Thank you, Sheila ma'am, for joining us today as a panelist. And thank you, Ms. Isha, for joining us.
Thank you, everyone,
everybody.
on this panel, and all the people who joined in on a Friday evening to listen to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was really a very nice session.
Thank you. Have a
Very
great
interesting talk, Soumya. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
Shreya.
you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye, all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Sheila
Bye.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye.
Very happy to see you after a long time.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah, Sheila ma'am.
Happy to see you too.